Hello everybody, this is Hannah here once again, and I've got another toy reviews. And today something is quite special. It's not something that I usually take a look at, even though I have another one already. But, well, I have another one of the series already, and if you can read, which I'm fairly sure you can, because otherwise how do you know what the title is for this video? Today's review is going to be on the B Club Dangar from, technically it's Bullmark, but this is a Bandai reissue using the old Bullmark molds. So, technically it's from Bandai. And here's the packaging. It comes in a bag, of course, like most traditional Bullmarks are, or even these repros are, which is not important. But what is important is, of course, the tag, which is done in the same style as it was done back in the 70s. Now, before we get onto the actual toy itself, let's take a look at the header bag. It's got some weird stains on it for whatever reason. I'm not sure why that's there, but the print quality is fairly good. It has the nice illustrations that everybody knows from Burumaku no Kaiju series from back in the 70s. On the back it's different because previously I think for the originals, because I don't have any of the originals because I'm not rich enough to have them, originally speaking, the headers were the same on both sides, but for these B Club releases, it says B Club Original Goods, and this is an original good because it is a far different color from the original Bullmark release, and it says it's for ages 15 and up, and for some reason it says it has sharp objects included, which is a complete lie. On the bottom, there is the item number 2113 Dangar, made back in 2001 in Japan, and some whatevers. Yeah, that's basically it. It's not a bad looking tag. I'm not sure. It kind of cements the fact that no, actually I am sure, because it cements the fact that Earthstron or Artstron is actually top of the leagues in terms of second generation monsters, because this is the tag that they used for Taro and etc. when that series moved on. So in any case, let's get on to the detail of the toy. When not stealing jokes from CGR, Yao is actually incapable of making his own jokes. In any case, the detail on this thing is actually surprisingly very nice for the age it was made in back in 1971. The head looks very Dangar-esque, and other than the fact that the mouth is kind of glued to the top of the jaw and all that, it looks fairly good. One would only have to make the pupils slightly smaller and make them look more forward to make a more correct looking Dangar. All the quote-unquote the dreadlocks look nice. I don't know why it has it. That's basically how the design went. I'm thinking it's more based on a lion more than anything, because I've heard commentaries say that it is based off of a lion. But you know, that's a far stretch in either case, because it's got the bird. Because it's got the cry of a freaking bird. The arms all look nice. There's a nice texture to all of these items, and what's very unique about these Bullmark figures sometimes is that they have this really weird looking, let's see if we can find an example of it, weird looking cloth pattern, maybe right there, yeah, where you can see the stitchings of a cloth under for whatever reason. The rest of the body looks nice. It's all scaly and cracked, just like in the show. The legs are nice and stumpy, and alongside the tail, which doesn't make any sense, but the body is surprisingly elongated, and it doesn't have the feminine curves that it had in the show for whatever reason, because I'm guessing maybe the male stunt actors were out of business that day. It looked really bizarre in the show, to be exact, and this figure does not necessarily capture it, but I think as a stylized representation that Bullmarks were known for, it doesn't look half bad. On the bottom of the feet, it says Bullmark. It is the same printing that we all know and love, Burumaku, Bullmark, and on the bottom it's printed in ink Bandai, just to signify that this is a reproduction of an original mold. And on the other foot, which is really hard to see, mainly because it's red, so it really blots out, it says Dangar, or the name of the monster, Dangar. I don't know why there's an R, but whatever. Some people call it Dangar too. Now, in terms of the color, this thing is absolutely wrong. I think most of you should probably know that. Dangar is definitely not this color. Dangar is a very, very earth-hued gray. And this is also not the color of the original Bullmark toy, which is actually yellow with sprays of green and some red on the mouth. So this is definitely, so it's pretty unique as an original creation from Bandai itself, and the masking isn't exactly the best. There's a little bit of paint spilled into the crevice between the eyeball and the rest of the face. The teeth could use some work because the front tooth isn't exactly aligned. It looks like it was sprayed. It was bisected laterally in terms of the spray, but overall I don't think it looks all that bad. The patterns are random, but that is to be expected of a full mark release. And honestly, if you really wanted to paint it the way I showed them in the actual TV show, kids probably wouldn't have wanted to buy it. So yeah, now let's go down to the articulation. Articulation on this guy is actually surprisingly nice for how old of a toy this is. You know, it's not an actually old toy because it was made in 2001, but the mold, of course, again, it's from 1971. The arms rotate almost without restriction, 180 degrees. The dreadlocks up here really restricted, and what's really bizarre about this release is that unlike the Bullmark minifigure, which is only about 3 inches tall, the head does not rotate on this thing, which is very bizarre, because it rotated on the smaller toy. But the arms are generally unrestricted, and they've got the spike on there from the show. It's in the wrong location because in Dangar's case, it was mostly on his palm, about here, where it's curved in like so he can stab people. And here it's kind of jutting out like a weird looking talon, but that's about it. The stumpy legs do move. They don't offer much in terms of stop motion capabilities, but you can at least have him sit down so that he can become the chairman of the Redman Survivor group, because Subaraya Productions is streaming Redman, and I have to advertise that somehow because I'm not paid by them to do it, obviously. I'm not rich enough to be paid by them yet. But yeah, he can act as the head of the Redman Survivor group for the week because Redman just kills people for no reason. Go watch the show. It's streaming every day. And finally, the stumpy little tail also rotates. Very stiffly, but it still moves. Kind of pointless. But hey, it's there. So now finally, let's move on to the size comparisons. Now, if you didn't know this before, I actually kind of feel bad for you because everybody already knows that Bullmarks are not made to the same size specifications as a Bandai toy. Some examples are, we're going to take out some of the Ultra Heroes that I have. First off, let's try the Ultra Hero series Ultraman Jack, and as you can see, this is terribly, terribly out of scale. Dangar is nowhere near 60-something meters, he's more like 50-something. So this is completely out of scale, and Jack is way too short. Now, obviously, there is a Bullmark Ultraman Jack, but the Bullmark Ultraman Jack is kind of out of scale because the same reason as to why the Sasahila will be kind of out of scale. Now, this is a B Club Sasahila, and it is slightly too tall. That's because most of the vinyl gets donated to the height of the toy instead of to the like in Dangar's case, where a lot of the mass has to be donated to the tail. Some figures that are actually going to be in scale with this thing include the likes of the bear model Mephiles 2. This is a bear model that I picked up, glow in the dark, and they don't look too bad next to each other. Of course, Dangar is a little too short, and Mephiles is a little too tall. For some other Bandai comparisons, let's try comparing it to Monsarger, the king of the heights in terms of Ultra Monster series figures, and this is the 2000 year release that I picked up recently. And as you can see, it actually towers over Monsarger, which is kind of sad. Monsarger is something like 70-something meters, I think. I'm not too sure about that anymore, but Dangar is only something like 50, so scale is definitely out the window. But the one good thing is that we can have some convincing Ultract poses. We're going to compare it to the 3rd generation, or aka last generation, because SH Figuarts is replacing Ultracts, the 3rd generation Ultract Ultraman Jack. And they do not look too bad next to each other. Of course, it's still out of scale, definitely. But in terms of having it look good in pictures and whatever, it doesn't look too bad. So overall, in the end, we have to say that since I don't have any other Bullmarks to compare it with, other than the Sasahila, which is slightly out of scale, the scaling on this thing can only be committed as average and at worst terrible. Getting the entire package back into place, And the overall question is, what would I rate this figure? And I give it a definite 5 out of 5. I do not think there's really anything wrong with the toy as long as you knew what was to be expected when you were getting into it. Bull marks are supposed to be really wacky in terms of their paint job, but detail is surprisingly nice on the thing, and I think that's what's really saving the toy by itself. I was able to pick this guy up for about $47 on Mandarake, and if you can find it for under that price, I'd say go pick it up. Anything above would be slightly overpaying, and anything above about $50, which is the original retail price, would be seriously trying to shoot yourself in the foot. I would definitely recommend it to people who like Return of Ultraman, and I would definitely recommend it to people who like this character. But if anything else, if you're more into like an all-stars cast of Ultraman Kaiju, I'd say you can probably skip Dangar. He's not very popular, he's only shown up once, and it's pretty easy to forget him considering he shares the same subtitle as like a bajillion other monsters. And as a final remark, let's do a quick comparison, because I forgot to do it during the actual size comparison section, with the suit that he eventually became, which is why we don't see Dangar so much anymore. Because Dangar went ahead and became Sugaron. Very terrible development, I know. We should all feel kind of sad about that. But in any case, that's been the review. Thank you for watching. I'm Yanai, and I'll see you guys next time.